Hello everyone and welcome back to the second part of the revision session on mathematics quadratic equations for the SA2 board examination portion. So we have already discussed the first 5 questions which I've collected from this chapter. We are now going to discuss the next 5 questions which I've taken up from this chapter. So again, there are word problems, will take some time. I would suggest you pause the video when I put the question, try to solve it yourself and then check the solution. That will help you in practice, right? So let's start without further ado. So now a shopkeeper. Now there's a shopkeeper who buys a certain amount of books for 80 rupees. Right now he's taking some books and these books have cost him 80 rupees. Now if he had bought 4 more books for the same amount, each book would have cost him 1 rupee less. Each book would have cost him 1 rupee less. So how many books did he buy? Right? Oh, very good question. Right. Now they're saying that he bought some number of books. Now cost of books will be 80 rupees, right? So let the number of cost of books will be 80 rupees. So let the number of books bought be equal to X. Let us assume that he bought X books, right? Therefore, cost of each book would be 80 by X rupees. 80 by X, right? That would be the cost of each book, right? Then 80 divided by the cost of one book. Sorry, 80 divided by the number of books. So that will give you the cost of each book. Now the second condition, now they've given you that if he had bought 4 more books for the same amount, each book would have cost him 1 rupee less, right? Each book would have cost him 1 rupee less. So if he bought 4 more books, then cost per book, what would it be? It will be 80 by X plus 4. 80 by X plus 4, because X plus 4 more books, 80 divided by number of books. So 80 by X plus 4. Now they've given us that this value, cost per book, would have been 1 rupee less. Therefore, we can say that this cost 80 by X plus 4 is equal to 1 rupee less than the original cost 80 by X minus 1. That's it. You've got your equation. Nothing to worry about now. So now you formulate a quadratic equation. 80 by X minus 80 by X plus 4. This value is 1. Now I've transposed this here and I've brought this here. So 80 by X minus 80 by X plus 4 equal to 1. Take 80 common. That's the best thing to do. So 1 by X minus 1 by X plus 4. This value is 1. Now take this 80 here. Take LCM here. So X plus 4 minus X by X square plus 4X. This value is 1 by 80. Now X and X get cancelled here. So you will get 4 into 80. 4 is a 32. 320 is equal to X square plus 4X. I've just cross multiplied, right? So now bring this here, you get X square plus 4X minus 320. This value is 0. This is your quadratic equation that you're going to get. And with this, you're going to get the number of books he's going to buy. So let's now find that number. Again, the first term coefficient is 1. So you just take the last coefficient. It's negative. That means 1 is negative while the other is positive. And their sum is positive. That means the magnitude of the positive number is greater than that of the negative number. So now let's do it. You get 320. 320 if you divide, you get 4 into 80. Right? 4 into 80. Wait, it's not at all correct. So you'll have to do it further. 4 into 20. So 16 and 20. Right? We got it. So 4, 16 and 16 into 20. So we just now solve it. X square plus 20x minus 16x, because again the the positive number should be greater in magnitude, because then only the sum will come positive. So plus 20x minus 16x, and their product is anyway minus 320 is equal to 0. So now take x common, you get x plus 20 minus 16 common, you get x plus 20. This value is equal to 0. Therefore, you will get x minus 16 into x plus 20 equal to 0. Therefore, x equal to 16 or x equal to minus 20. But can x be minus 20? No, because number of books bought cannot be negative. Therefore, x is equal to 16. Since x cannot be equal to minus 20. Not possible. Right? So, how many books did he buy? He bought 80 books. No, not 80. He bought 16 books. Right? So I hope that's absolutely clear. He bought 16 books. The shopkeeper bought 16 books. Right? So I hope that's clear. I hope this question is absolutely clear in your mind. Right? Let's move forth. Now a person on a tour has 360 rupees for his daily expenses. So he has 360 rupees for his daily expenses. If he exceeds his tour by 4 days, he must cut down his daily expenses by rupees 3 per day. Find the number of days of his tour. So this question is pretty similar to the previous question. It's pretty much, the approach will be very, very similar. So now they've said that the amount of money he has, this amount of money is rupees 360. And for his daily expenses. Now let the number of days of his tour, be equal to x. So let us assume he's going for some x days, right? Now, therefore, we are assuming that each day he's spending a uniform amount of money. Okay, although this is not a very realistic case, but still we're going to assume that each day he is spending a uniform amount of money, an equal amount of money. And rupees 360 for his daily expenses are constant. That's what we're going to consider. So therefore, daily expense, what will his daily expense be? Daily expense will be the amount of money he has divided by the number of days. So this will be 360 by x rupees. Right? So that's going to be his daily expense, rupees 360 by x. Right? So that's the first case. Now they are saying that if he exceeds his tour by 4 days, if he exceeds his tour by 4 days, then what will be his daily expense? Daily expense will be rupees 360 by x plus 4, because now he's increased his number of days to x plus 4. So he's increased it by 4 days. So now the tour time frame is x plus 4 and its daily expense will be 360 by x plus 4. Now they're saying that if this happens, he must cut down his daily expenses by rupees 3 per day. Therefore, this value 360 by x plus 4 needs to be 3 less than this value. So 360 by x minus 3 needs to be 3 less than this. Then only he will be able to keep this daily expense constant value. Now you just solve it. So you get 360 by x. You get 360 by x minus 360 by x plus 4. This value is 3. Again, I've just transposed this 3 here and brought this 360 by x plus 4 here. So now take 360 common. As I tell you, it's always better. 1 by x minus 1 by x plus 4 is equal to 3. Now this 3 and this 360 gets cancelled, 120. So you get x plus 4 minus x by x square plus 4x. This value is equal to 1 by 120. Now this x and x gets cancelled. Now you cross multiply. 4 into 120 will be 480. This value is equal to x square plus 4x. Again, I've just cross multiplied it. Now bring this 480 here. So you get x square plus 4x minus 480. This value is equal to 0. Now you've got a quadratic equation. Just solve this quadratic equation now. So we're going to take no again. There's no first term coefficient. So we're just going to take the last term constant. Again, it is negative. So, and the sum is positive. So the magnitude of the negative one should be less than the positive one. And one should be negative, one should be positive. So if you do this, you get 4 into 12. Yeah, so 4 into 120 to be better. And this will be 4 into 12 into 10. right? Still not getting it really. So you get 4 into 12 into 10. So if we do this in a better way, 6 into 2 into 2 into 5, right? So 4 and this, so 4 6 24 and 2 2 4 4 5 20. Yes, we got it. So 24 into 20, we got it, right? So we got it. 24 into 20 is 480 and their difference is 4. So again, take it accordingly. You get x square plus 24x, because the positive one needs to be greater than magnitude, minus 20x minus 480, this value equal to 0. So take x common, x plus 24 minus 20 common, x plus 24. This is equal to 0. Therefore, what is the value of x? It has to be 20. Because it will be x minus 20 into x plus 24 equal to 0. So x is equal to 20 or x is equal to minus 24. Since x equal to minus 24 is not at all applicable because the number of days can never be negative. Hence we take x equal to 20. Therefore, his tour, the number of days of his tour was 20 days originally. Right? So I hope that's absolutely clear. Any kind of doubt? I hope there's no kind of doubt. It's a very, very straightforward direct question similar to the previous question. Right? So let's move forward to the eighth question now, which is slightly different. It's pretty much similar actually. I just realized. A piece of cloth costs 200 rupees. So there's a piece of cloth, it costs some 200 rupees. If the piece were 5 meters longer and each meter of cloth cost 2 rupees less, the cost of piece would have remained unchanged. How long is the piece and what is its original rate per meter? Now this is a good question. It's a very good question. They are saying that a piece of cloth costs 200 rupees, right? If the piece were 5 meters longer and each meter of cloth costs rupees 2 less, then the cost of piece would have remained unchanged. How long is the piece and what is its original rate per meter? So let us assume that the length of the cloth is x meters. Okay, take it as the length of the cloth. Okay, let us assume that the length of the cloth was some x meters, right? Now the cost of this cloth is what? 200 rupees. Therefore, now it is given that cost of this is 200 rupees. Therefore, cost per meter will be 200 by x. That is the amount by the length of the cloth, right? So this will give us the rate per meter. Now if the piece, now let's look at the second condition. If the piece were 5 meters longer, so it will become x plus 5. So x changes to x plus 5 meters. So if the piece were 5 meter longer and each meter of cloth costs rupees 2 less, so this 200 by x becomes 200 by x minus 2. 200 by x minus 2, the cost of piece would have remained unchanged. The cost of the piece would have remained unchanged. How long is the piece and what is its original rate per meter? So now this has become the new thing, right? So this has become the new thing. This has become the new cost per meter and this has become the new length. So if these two are combined together, the cost still remains this. The cost still remains this. Now, if we increase the number or if we increase the length of the cloth, then cost of cloth per meter will be 200 by x plus 5. If we are increasing the length by 5 meters, then this is the cloth per meter, cost of cloth per meter. But they are saying that if we decrease the cost per meter by 2 rupees, then the cost of the piece remains unchanged. Then how do we do it now? This is confusing, right? So cost per meter is originally this. Now it has changed to this, right? And the cost of cloth per meter has changed to this, which is equal to this. which is equal to this. Please remember, it is equal to this value 200 by x minus 2. Original cost minus 2. So this value equal to this. That's it. You got your quadratic equation. 200 by x plus 5. This value is equal to 200 by x minus 2. They are saying that we are reducing the cost by 2 rupees. Then the cost of the piece would remain unchanged. That's it. The cost of the piece is unchanged because we're taking 200 only. So now bring this 200 by x plus 5 here and bring this 2 here as we usually do. So 200 by x minus 200 by x plus 5, this value is equal to 2. So take 200 common, you get 1 by x minus 1 by x plus 5, this value is equal to 2. So 2 and 100 gets cancelled. You will get, again take LCM, x plus 5 minus x by x square plus 5x, this value is equal to 1 upon 100. So that's it. So your x and x get cancelled. Now cross multiply, you get x square plus 5x is equal to 500, right? This is x square plus 5x, this is 500. So you get x square plus 5x minus 500, this is equal to 0. That's it. You've got your quadratic equation, right? So again, now no first term coefficient, so it's a direct question, take the constant value and it's negative, so definitely one is positive and the other is negative. So 500 becomes 5 into 100, which is definitely not correct. Then this becomes 5 into 20, so this becomes 25 and 20, right? So 25x minus 20x, right? So I hope you got that now. You get x square plus 25x minus 20x minus 500, this value equal to 0. So again you get x into x plus 25 minus 20 common into x plus 25, this value is equal to 0. Therefore x has to be 20 meters. Because x equal to minus 25 is not applicable since you cannot have a negative length. So x has to be 20 meters. So the length of the piece is 20 meters and its original rate per meter, original rate will be equal to 200 by 20, which is equal to 10 rupees per meter. Right? So that is the cost of the length or the cost of the cloth per meter and also the length of the piece, which is 20 meters. Right? So I hope you're absolutely clear with this question. I hope there's no kind of doubt in this question. Again, a good question, right? You need to think a bit in it. It's a bit confusing, so you need to think a bit, right? So that's absolutely clear. Let's move forth to the 9th question now, which is slightly different because it's based on distance and time. Now, in a flight of 600 kilometers, an aircraft was slowed down due to bad weather. Now, it's a question which has come in a previous paper. An aircraft was slowed down due to bad weather. So, there was a distance of 600 kilometers that a flight had to cover. Okay, maybe a domestic flight. And an aircraft was slowed down. It was slowed down because the weather was bad. There was turbulence. So, its average speed for the trip was reduced by 200 kilometers per hour and the time was increased by 30 minutes. Find the duration of the flight. Okay, so it's let us assume that the speed, original speed, here do not just assume it as the duration. Don't take it as duration. Many people do this mistake that they're asking duration, so they take the variable as duration. Don't take the variable as duration. Take the variable in a way that you know it will make your calculation easy and you're able to find what you want to find. So that the original speed of the plane, which it usually follows, that will be x kilometers per hour. Let us assume that's its original speed. And now they are saying that they have to cover a flight of 600 kilometers. So flight distance that they need to cover is 600 kilometers. So therefore, time taken to cover with original speed. Time taken with original speed. What will be the time taken with the original speed? The time taken with the original speed will be 600 by x hours, because you know what's the formula for time? Time is equal to distance by speed. Time is equal to distance by speed. So distance by the speed, that's 600 by x, which is 600 by x hours, right? So that's the time taken with the original speed, right? Important. Now we got that, equation 1. Now they are saying that an aircraft was slowed down and its average speed was reduced by 200 kilometers. So average speed, now speed after reduction, the speed will be x minus 200 kilometers per hour, and time taken with this speed will be 600 by x minus 200 hours. Right? Now they are saying that the time increased by 30 minutes. The time increased by 30 minutes. That means this time is 30 minutes more than this. 30 minutes more than this. Don't take it as hours. If you take it as 30, then it will be hours. They are saying minutes. So therefore, 30 minutes will be half an hour. Please remember this. Don't just substitute. Read the question properly. Increased by 30 minutes. Therefore, as per the given data, this time is half an hour more than this time. So this will be 600 by x minus 200. This value is equal to 600 by x plus half an hour, 1 by 2. Okay, because this time is in hours, so write it in terms of hours only. So now if you solve this equation, what will you get? You again bring this, okay, then you don't need to do anything, just bring it here. So 600, if you take common, 1 by x minus 200 minus 1 by x, this value is 1 by 2. See, for the first time I'm doing this. So first time we've not got any negatives for the constant value for after a long time. So 600 into 1 by x minus 200 minus 1 by x is equal to 1 by 2. Now bring this here, you take LCM here. So this becomes x minus x plus 200 by x square minus 200x. This value is equal to 1 by 1200, because I brought this to 600 down. So x and x get cancelled. You will have 200 into 1200. So that will be 24. That will be 2,40,000 or 240,000, right? 240,000. And this will be x square minus 200x. So you get a good quadratic equation, a big one. So this will be x square minus 200x minus 240,000. This value is equal to 0. So there both are not negative. One is negative, one is positive, because the product is negative. And the magnitude of the negative one is greater than the positive one, right? So now let's find out the numbers. Try to find out the numbers. This will be 240,000. 240,000. And let's now try to break them down. So this will be 200 and maybe your 1200, right? Because you know we multiplied those two, you remember that, right? So now here what to do? Can we take these two numbers? No, it's not possible. So again, let's break this down even further. This becomes 2 into 100 and this becomes 12 into 100. So again, I don't see much of a scope. Okay, so this becomes 2 into 12 into 50 into 2 into 50 into 2. So here, see, sometimes you need to really think, right? This becomes 2 and you need 200, right? So this becomes 2, 12 and 24, 50 and 200, 100 and 1200, 50 and 12, 60 and 60. So 5 plus 60, so 600, and this becomes 60 to 2, 2, 4, 4, 2, 8, 8, 5, 40. No, 2, 4, 4, 2, 8, 40, 400. Yes, we got it. So 600 and 400. If you take 600 and 400, you'll get it, right? These two numbers. If you take the difference, it's 200 and the product is 2,40,000 or 240,000. So now take it x square minus 600x, because this time that magnitude needs to be greater, plus 400x minus 240000 is equal to 0. Therefore, x into x minus 600 plus 400 into x minus 600, this value is equal to 0. Therefore, what is the value of x? x has to be 600 kilometers per hour, because otherwise it will be x minus x plus 400 equal to 0, x equal to minus 400. Speed cannot be negative, therefore x equal to 600 kilometers per hour, right? So the original speed of the plane is 600 kilometers per hour. Now they're asking you to find the original duration of the flight. So original duration would be 600 by 600, which is equal to 1 hour. Usually a flight between Delhi to Jammu. Okay, that's usually the flight duration when we go from Delhi to Jammu. Since I'm from Jammu, so I know it. I really go from Delhi to Jammu. It takes about 1 hour. So I hope that's absolutely clear, right? So that's the original duration of the flight. Please remember, they're asking you the duration, not just the speed. If you just leave it at the speed, you will lose marks. So please read the question properly and make sure that you've answered the whole question before you complete, right? So I hope that's absolutely clear. This question is pretty clear. Let's move on to the last question I have in mind. And this is an interesting question. And I put it in the last because I found it a very interesting question. I saw it in a worksheet online. So it was a very interesting question. The angry Arjun. Now we all know about the Mahabharata, and this is something related to the Mahabharata which makes it even more interesting. The angry Arjun carried some arrows for fighting with Bhishma. Now Bhishma Pitama was a person in Mahabharata who is considered the mentors of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, but he again fought on the Kaurav side because of certain limitations he had. Now with half the arrows, he cut down the arrows thrown by Bhishma on him, and with 6 other arrows, he killed the Rath driver of Bhishma. So you know that there were Raths during the Mahabharata. So the Rath driver of Bhishma was killed by one of the arrows, but with 6 other arrows. With 1 arrow each, he knocked down respectively the Rath, the flag, and the bow of Bhishma. Finally, with one more than 4 times the square root of arrows, he laid Bhishma unconscious of an arrow bed. Find the total number of arrows Arjun had. So you can see how interesting this question is, because even mathematics is there in Mahabharata also. That really amused me. So the angry Arjun carried some, and you know, it's really fun to solve such case situations, because sometimes, you know, mathematics needs to be made interesting. So it is interesting, but you know, sometimes these things make it even more interesting. So the angry Arjun carried some arrows for fighting with Bhishma. So he carried some arrows, right? We're going to assume that the number of arrows he carried was x. Let me assume that x is the number of arrows he carried. Total number of arrows. Now with half the arrows, so x by 2. Now out of this, x by 2, he used to cut down the arrows. Cut down opposite arrows, that arrows which Bhishma threw on him, or yeah, whatever, threw on him. So he cut down those arrows with half his arrows. And with 6 other arrows, with 6 arrows, he killed the Rath driver. So Rath driver killed. And I must say Rath driver is very strong, because he used 6 arrows to kill the Rath driver. So with 1 arrow each, he knocked down respectively the Rath, the flag, and the bow of Bhishma. So again, he took how many? 3 arrows more, and there he knocked down his Rath, flag, and also the bow. So 3 things he you know, removed. He cut them down, knocked them down, and he used 3 arrows in that. And finally, with 1 more than 4 times the square root of the arrows. So 4 root x plus 1 more than 4 times the square root of arrows he had, he laid Bhishma unconscious of an arrow bed. Find the total number of arrows unconscious Bhishma. So we need to find the total number of arrows. So now it looks very simple, right? Now it's simple. Why? Because what is it? Basically, x becomes equal to x by 2 plus 6 plus 3 plus 4 root x plus 1. That's it. Done. Finished. We are done with this question then. Yeah, that's it. Because the total number of arrows is equal to sum of all these arrows. Right? So it's pretty simple. The only thing was that this question is interesting. So the total number of arrows is equal to sum of all the arrows he used. So pretty obvious. So this becomes x by 2, 6 plus 3, 9, 9 plus 1, 10. So plus 10 plus 4 root x. Now here you will say that root x is not a quadratic equation. So here I'll give you a very good method to solve this, right? And it will be very, very interesting if you do this. Let us assume let us assume that root x is equal to some a. Let me assume that root x is some a. The value root x is some a. Right? We assume that root x is some a. We are giving it some other variable name. So now substitute everything with a. So therefore x becomes root x whole square, which becomes a square. So in this way, you can make this a quadratic equation, which will not be in terms of x, but in terms of a, and later on you can find x value also, right? Once you find a value. That's it. So you get a square is equal to a square by 2 plus 10 plus 4a. And you can use this method in NCERT as well. It's perfectly fine. There's no problem with this method. So a square is equal to a square, now take LCM, plus 20 plus 8a by 2. And now you transpose this here, you get 2a square minus a square minus 20 minus 8a. This value is equal to 0. Right? So 2a square minus a square becomes a square minus 8a minus 20 equal to 0. So you got a quadratic equation, perfect quadratic equation. You can easily solve this quadratic equation. So I'm now solving this quadratic equation here, right, on this side. So you get a square minus 8a minus 20 equal to 0. I think you can do this very easily. If you just take 20, this will be 2 into 10. So hence that's pretty simple. You take minus 10a plus 2a. So you get a square minus 10a plus 2a minus 20. This value is equal to 0. So take a common, a minus 10 plus 2 common, a minus 10. This value is equal to 0. Now take a plus 2 into a minus 10. This value is equal to 0. Therefore, a equal to 10 only, because we're not going to take a equal to minus 2. Again, number of arrows cannot be negative. So a equal to 10. Still, the question is not over, my dear. The question is not over. We have to say that a is equal to 10. Therefore, root x is equal to 10. Root x is equal to 10. So x is equal to 10 square, which is equal to 100. So how many arrows did he carry? How many arrows did Arjun have? He had 100 arrows. Right? So this is a good technique to solve it, because it may look confusing because there's a square root and you'll say how is it a quadratic equation, and then you'll go for squaring to remove the roots and it'll be so complex. Better take it like this, khalas, finish, easy to solve as well. Right? So 100 arrows he had, finished. Clear? So I hope that's absolutely clear, and with this we are done with all the revision questions which I had accumulated. 10 very good revision questions from various websites and sources, and with this we are done with the revision session for quadratic equations. I hope you're clear with all the questions. I hope you liked those questions. If you still have any kind of doubt, you may put it in the comment section below, and when we are going to do the live session before the mathematics exam, I will take up all your doubts, right? So thank you very much for joining me. Goodbye. Best of luck for your examinations. Please put a like button there and subscribe. Goodbye. Stay healthy, stay smart, and do keep studying. Bye-bye.